Alright guys, so this is day one of probability, and we're going to talk about outcome, sample space, and event. So the standard that we're trying to get to, we're not going to actually get all the way to this standard this week, but we're going to talk about parts of the sample space and categories of these sample spaces, and we'll get to the second part of this standard maybe next week or in the coming weeks. Okay, so let's go over some key vocab. Make sure you have your paper and your pencil to write these words down because you will need to refer back to these words. So the outcome is what happens when you do an experiment. Okay, what happens when an experiment is done? That's what an outcome is. An event is the set of outcomes in an experiment. For an example, if I flip a coin, flipping the coin is the event, and the outcomes of that event can be tails or heads. Okay, so the sample space is the total number of outcomes of an event. The total, and that's the key word, total number of outcomes and an event. For an example, if I was to flip a coin, which is the event, and the outcome could be either tails or heads, but the sample space for flipping this coin would be tails and heads. So you would have a sample space of 2 here, because you can get tails and heads here when you flip that coin. Okay, probability is the total. Well, let me say this. Probability is, and let me use your words, sample space at the bottom, that's your denominator, and the number and the outcome of the event. So you have sample space and then the outcome of an event. Oh, let me write that a little bit here. Alright, so for an example, if I want you to find the probability of flipping tails, and I flip that coin once, the total sample space, or the sample space, is 2, and the outcome of getting a tails for this would be 1. So the probability of that event happening is 50%. Okay? Alright, so make sure you write these words down because you're going to need them for the activities for today. Okay, so what I'm going to teach you today is how to identify the sample space and how to find the probability of events. So here's our example question. What is the sample space for the coin flip? So here we have a quarter, and if we flip this, the sample space would be what's the total number of outcomes you can have here. So I can flip and it be a tails, or I can flip and it be a tail. So the total sample space here has 2 objects in it, and that would be 2, tails and heads. So this would be 2. What's the probability of showing the heads? Well, we have the probability of getting a head would be the total sample space, the number of objects in there, is 2. And according to this, my the number of times heads show up is 1. And then what's the probability of getting tails? That is 2. And this is just a shorthand for writing probability of something. I need my sample space at the bottom, so the total number of outcomes here is 2 in that experiment. And then what I want, which is tails, and that's 1. So here you can write this as 50%, or you can write it as a decimal. So all of these mean the same thing. And that is it for today, guys. So here's what I need you to do. Go to Canvas, answer the practice questions that I have for you for day 1 of this week, and submit those answers, and then we'll go from there. Bye. And if you need extra help once you've gone through these questions, make sure you are on the Zoom call at 12 o'clock. Bye, guys.